I'd like to come back to what you said though, and this is something that I think almost every online business entrepreneur is probably interested in to some degree, and that is
Mhm.
that you've developed a quiz. What's your plant personality? What, I can't remember what you called it exactly, but what's your plant personality type is kind of the thing. And one of the things we do is that we create those things. We have a secret sauce we use and a special tool we use. But how did you go about actually deciding? First of all, what made you decide to have one of those? Secondly, how did you go about creating it, and what tool did you use?
Okay. I'm so excited you asked me that question because this has single-handedly been the best email list building tool I have ever implemented in my business. I'm so obsessed with it, and it's such a fun thing to share. It's so fun, and people really enjoy taking it. And I ask people to share it online, so I get to see people's it's such a fun way to connect with people because you get their results and then you talk to them about what the results mean and all that stuff. So it's number one, an amazing way to build your email list. Number two, it's an amazing way to engage with your community or your potential community. So in addition to Pat Flynn, I also love Jenna Kutcher, who is another, she has a podcast called Goal Digger Podcast, Goal, Goal.
Mhm.
And she's another like online entrepreneur influencer. She had a quiz that I really admired and kind of broke down her process about it. So I used a service called tryinteract.com,
Yeah. Hmm.
and they build so okay, let's go back for a minute. So for years I have talked about this idea of the right plant parent personality instead of the right starter plant. I've talked about it a lot, and I had always thought that I wanted to do this quiz, but I didn't have the time or energy or skills to do it. And I call it my COVID baby because I made it in March and April. So it was like the thing I did when I was in lockdown because we were also like you in Melbourne in lockdown in New York City, which was like pretty scary. So I first off, I worked backwards. I designed or I wrote out the 5 different personality types that I had been mulling around in my head for a really long time. And I broke down like the deliverables of what I was going to deliver. And I got really clear on like what those profiles were going to look like and what the deliverables would be. And I did whatever research I needed to do and kind of took some time to organize my thoughts there. Then I kind of sketched out what the questions I thought should be in my own voice. I wanted to make sure it was like very representative of like who I was, and the brand of Bloom and Grow, and potential answers, like basically one answer per personality or 1 or 2 answers per personality. And then I used this service called Try Interact and I built my quiz out on them. It was a little tricky because I wanted the quiz to be embedded into my website. So I had to then work with my website designer to integrate the quiz into the website, and we ended up having all the landing pages be hosted on my website instead of Try Interact's website. So there was some upfront cost in getting that all set up because I did have a designer kind of figure it out on my website, but it was totally worth it because from my Google Analytics, it's also boosted website visits
Mm.
because now people are going to the website instead of this Try Interact website. Um, and I made a really fun call to action with it. So in addition to taking the quiz, I encourage people to share online and take a snapshot of their results and share online and tag me so I can engage with them. I want to get to know them. And it was really fun. Like around the launch, I made a whole video explaining why I created the service, why I created the quiz. I launched it on my Instagram. I talked about it on my podcast, and it's been amazing. It's been a really fun tool. And I think if someone wants to make a quiz, I think like really focus on what you're delivering. I really wanted the quiz results to give people so much information and help. I didn't want, because you are asking them for their email. So you want to deliver, and that is kind of their first impression of you. So I wanted the landing pages to look really fun and inviting. I got an artist who I really admired, who I'd worked with before, to build custom pictures for each plant parent personality. So you get this little like visual of what your plant parent, personality is, and just made sure that like whoever took the quiz would be totally taken care of when they got their personality result to go and like actually maybe buy some plants or actually start. I led them to like the top 5 episodes of my podcast that would best suit them, because I'm also realizing now I have 106 episodes of my podcast. So if someone is new and like a new plant parent wanting to learn, I could also understand someone comes to my podcast and they're like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. So it's a nice way to kind of just chunk everything down and make it like a really easy, simple process for people.
I think that's really, really fantastic. Because, and I do think one of the things I really like about the whole quiz concept, even if you don't call it a quiz, we tend to build decision support tools or online assessment tools, which
Okay.
you can call them a quiz if you want, but the same thing, you got questions, and then at the end of the questions, you end up with a result based on people's answers. And I like that approach because it means everybody who comes and answers the questions walks away with something of value that's pertinent to their situation.
Yeah.
It's so much better for people coming through rather than coming to a website and going, oh, I really want this, but I can't afford it now. Or I really want that, but it's not quite me or whatever. But if you come in and you have a quiz on your website, people can go, oh, I'll do that. I'll answer a few questions, and you get something useful out of it at the end. Do you have an email nurture sequence at the end for everybody that comes through?
I have a very simple email nurture sequence right now, which that's my November project to build out. They get a welcome email that also like further kind of nurtures, hey, like, did you got your result? Like, here's where you can start. And then kind of send some follow-ups. But I'm actually, that's the next step, because I think once you capture someone, giving them like a great, like an A+ kind of first 4 weeks of an experience of you. I mean, actually, what would you recommend? Do you think 4 weeks is the sweet spot, or longer than that?
It really depends on your audience, because I've worked with people who have had 3. They've had a 3 email sequence, but I've also worked with somebody who had a 52-week sequence.
Wow.
And the value that was in that 52-week sequence was huge. Absolutely huge.
That's really
like
cool.
Actually going to university and coming out with a degree at the end of it in all kinds of things, and especially around online marketing. So I think for you, it would be for people who maybe you make it long enough so that for somebody who's coming in and just starting something new, like buying a new plant and then wanting to figure out how to look after it, however long it takes, maybe a 3-month sequence where where you walk them through the seasons, or you see what I'm saying? So it's
Oh, I love that. Put a seasonal spin to it. That's I love that idea.
Because obviously the needs change over
Totally.
the stuff, and often enough that it keeps people aware that you still exist, so they don't forget you, but also you're giving them value right through the year without having to develop a huge massive library of emails.
Totally. I love that.
Yeah, no, I think I think that would work really well. But yeah, no, I love, it's fascinating, like I said, for my listeners out there, not that many people at the moment actually use this technique, the quizzes and the giving people a tool that they can use to get value immediately, so that you can then follow up and nurture with them. Not that many people use this technique, and it's so powerful. So I just encourage everybody who's listening to actually consider it. Think about something that you do for your customers. Think about actually taking one small aspect of that and then breaking it down into steps and questions. And I'm just for you, Maria, I'm actually in the process of developing because I do make these things. I do podcasts and saying, how do you choose, or how do you go about doing X, Y, or Z? And we've just finished one on how do you choose an email service provider. And we're just in the middle of developing one for how do you actually create a quiz like this, and which tools should you use to actually do it, because we use one that lets you embed the results straight into your website. No messing
Very
around,
cool.
fluffing around and stuff. And it gives you the ability to have branching logic in the back end, so that
Very
if
cool.
they answer this question this way, then you send it to those 6 questions. If they answer it this way, they go to those 6 questions.